It's true, Illustrator is a vector-based application. However, there are many times when you may need to integrate photographic content or pixel-based content into your artwork inside of Illustrator. So let's take a moment to discuss some of the basics of integrating pixel-based content or photographs into your layout inside of Illustrator. The way that you place a photograph into your document is to go to the File menu, choose Place, and then choose a photograph. Now, if you have access to the exercise files, in the Chapter 15 folder, you'll find the range of Photoshop files. They're all PSD files. Now, naturally, you could also place other images like EPS images, TIFF images, JPEGs, GIF, so on and so forth. But for here, I'm going to be using Photoshop images or native.psd files. And let's say I choose this one over here called Surf Walk. Now, before I go ahead and I actually place this, let's take a look at some of the options that appear here at the bottom of this dialog box. First of all, there's a checkbox here called Link. That's because there are two types of workflows that exist when dealing with images inside of Illustrator itself. You can either place a photograph into Illustrator as a linked image. When you do so, the file itself resides outside of Illustrator, meaning that the photograph itself lives in a separate file than the actual Illustrator document. And the Illustrator file simply references that external file. Now, anytime that external Photoshop file gets updated, the update also happens inside of Illustrator's file. The alternative is to actually place an image inside of Illustrator and you embed that particular image. When you embed a file, which means that if you then apply some kind of edit to the external file, it does not update or make any change to the Illustrator document itself. Obviously, by embedding a photograph into an Illustrator document, your Illustrator file size will grow to include whatever size that image is. There are benefits to both of these workflows. Obviously, working with a linked workflow where the image is external from the Illustrator file, that means that your Illustrator files themselves are smaller, but that also means that if you ever send your Illustrator file off to somebody else, either to print, to a different designer, they would need access to that image as well. So you would either need to send along that image, or that image would need to reside on a server or a public location where they can access it. Otherwise, they would not be able to view or print that particular document. However, if you embed a particular image into a file, then you could send that file along to somebody else or to a printer or to a friend, and they have all the information that they need to work with and to print that file. Now, if you have the same image that may be placed into several different documents, and then you need to make an update to that particular image, it's obviously a lot easier if you have a linked image. Then you simply update that external file once, and it automatically updates in all the Illustrator files that you've used that image with. Naturally, as with anything else inside of Illustrator, every single design task will dictate its own needs and workflows. For now, I'm going to place this image with the link box checked. That means that there will be this external link to the file. You also have the ability to choose template, which will automatically turn that particular image into a template layer as you place it so that you can trace over it. But I'm not going to choose that one in this option right here. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Place, and that places that image right onto my screen right here. A quick way to easily identify an image that is linked is this X that appears through it. You can also look up in the upper left-hand corner of your control panel where it says Object Type, which currently identifies it as a linked file. If you click on this, it also opens up the Links panel, which we'll talk about in a later movie in this particular chapter. I'm going to go ahead and scale this. I'm just going to hold down the Shift key while I scale this image to be a little bit smaller. I want to place a few more images in the file so we can take a look at how other images can be placed. I'm going to choose File. I'm going to choose Place again. Let's choose one of these other images, for example, Surf Dude 2. In this example, I'm going to uncheck the link option. That means that when I now place it, Illustrator is going to include that into the file. Notice the X is no longer here. This image is now included and embedded into this Illustrator document. If I go ahead and I scale this down over here, I can now position this over here as well. Let's place one more image. I'm going to go to the File menu here, choose Place. In that same folder, let's choose another one here. Let's call this one Surf Sign. I'm now going to go ahead and choose to link that particular one. It's important to realize, by the way, as you're working, that the settings that are here on the Place dialog box are sticky, meaning that the setting that you have chosen stays that way until you change it otherwise. So if you unlink a particular document when you're placing it, and then you go ahead and you place a few more images, those will be unlinked unless you check it back on again. I do find that sometimes people don't realize they're embedding a whole bunch of images thinking that they've linked it, not realizing that they didn't check that box back on again. I'm going to choose Place. One more time, this image will now come in here, and I'll scale this one down a little bit. I just want to let you know that once you actually apply or you bring a linked image into your layout, if you click on it, you can see that there's a button here called Embed in the control panel. This allows you to decide, hey, if you want to embed the image now inside of Illustrator, doing so now makes it part of the Illustrator file. It is now no longer linked. It is now part of the Illustrator file. One of the benefits of using an embedded image inside of Illustrator is also that you can now include that image into a symbol definition. Linked images cannot be included into a symbol.